Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Dr. Muniba Shafaq from Department of Computer System Engineering. I'm from batch 6. I've done my BS, MS, and PhD from Department of Computer System, UET Peshawar. I'm specialized in biomedical image processing. Specifically, I work on skin cancers and brain MRI images to detect anomalies from brains. So this was my little introduction. So let's start our course. And secondly, I have my first experience with the electrical
मैम
department.
आपकी आवाज थोड़ी स्लो आ रही है।
Okay. अभी आ रही है आवाज? आवाज ठीक है अब?
यस मैम अभी क्लियर है।
हाँ ठीक है मैम, ठीक है।
Okay. This would be my first experience with electrical department, and I hope it would be a great experience with you guys. So let's start our computer programming course. So first of all, I would like to give you a
यस मैम।
brief introduction of course. Here, your semester is spring 2021, and you have this theory course of 3 credit hours. The programming language that you will use in this course will be C++. And the software tools, there are variety of options you have. You have Turbo C++, Visual C++, Dev C++. Here we are using code blocks software, and the link of that software is also given at the end. So you must download this. The link is there, and we will be using this software, right, for the simulations of our computer programs. So for this course, there are different learning resources. One of the most popular learning resource is your textbook and the other reference books. So your books that you can take as a reference is C++, How to Program by Detail and Detail. Other books are C++ Programming in Easy Steps. Then you have Thinking in C++. And then for advanced programmer, you have C++ programming language. So it's not limited to the books, but you can also take reference, and you can see different tutorials and through the c++.com, and there is research at .com. So the first I would like to tell what are the course learning outcomes, or what are the CLOs of your course, what you will get at the end of this course. So at the end of this course, you will have a basic knowledge of C++, and you will have the necessary proficiency in C++. So you are learning here the programming language, and in this we are specifically deal with C++. So of course, if you are going to learn something, you have to acquire the basic knowledge of that language. So acquiring the basic knowledge of C++ is the first step, and to get a necessary proficiency in C++. This is your CLO 1, right? Then second CLO, you have to apply whatever you gain, the gain knowledge in C++, you have to apply that knowledge in problem solving. Not only the problem solving, but to analyze those problems in an effective way, right? So acquire the basic knowledge, apply that basic knowledge, and solve the problems, right? So actually, we have basic objective of programming is that we want computer to solve certain problems for that. But for that, we have to give instruction to the computer. So you have to design your algorithms such that that will solve the problems for you, and then you have to convert that into the programming language C++. So this is your CLO2, and this is the main objective, right? Third one is the understand the difference between procedural and the object-oriented paradigm. Here, uh, C++ is actually the extension of C programming language. And the basic feature of C++ is the object-oriented. But here you are going, you are at the beginner level, so you won't go in detail of object-oriented. Here we will start with the procedural paradigm. So we will look into that at the end of the course in the last weeks. So what is the difference between the procedural and the object-oriented paradigms? So there are basically 3 CLOs: acquire the basic knowledge, apply that knowledge for problem solving, and to understand the difference between the procedural and the object-oriented paradigms. So next, I have to tell about grading criteria. It's the same for theory, like midterm is 25%, final term 50%. You have the sessionals with 25%. In sessionals, you might have some assignments, quizzes, and some online assessment and performance. You have to show your active participation. Maybe I ask random questions from you from the lecture, right? So that I may know that you are actively taking online class or not, or you just have clicked the link and you are sleeping. Is it that or not? So assignments, there would be assignments, right? Quizzes will be there. So I think all of sections you have to decide some time so that I can take a quiz from all the section at one time, right? So you have to decide
Okay, ma'am.
this in this week. Yes, you have to decide sometime in this week. So at least I will take quiz 1 from you, because this is week 2 and we have missed week 1 because of some reasons. That was administrative issues, right? Classroom link was not created for us. So it's not our end, but we will try to compensate that, right? We will try to manage that missed class somehow. Today's agenda here is that we will have a little introduction of what a computer is, and what is the organization of the computer, and what is the programming language, what are the different types of programming languages, and specifically what is C++ programming language, what are the features of that, and then for the program to do some programs for C++, we will talk about IDE, Integrated Development Environment, and then we will look into the basic structure of C++ program. So what is a computer? Anyone of you who can tell what is a computer? Because I think you have some course related to computer fundamentals already. You have done a lot of things related to that. So any one of you who is willing to tell me?
Ma'am.
Sir, ma'am.
This is Zakirullah.
Yes, ma'am. Computer is
Okay.
a machine which takes input, process it, and displays output. Stores it
Okay.
and processes it, then displays output.
Okay, very nice. बिल्कुल ठीक है, correct है आपकी definition. So we are going back to our slides. So by definition, if you see that computer is a programmable device that can store, retrieve, and process data. This is the basic definition for the computer. And other can be the device capable of performing computations and making logical decisions, a machine that manipulates data according to a list of instructions. Of course, I mean, this is a machine, and we have some purpose of having this machine, like we want this machine to do some task for us, right? So of course we have to give some instruction. It cannot do task by itself. we have to make this machine possible to do these tasks. How? We have to give this machine some instructions. So it's going to manipulate that data according to the list of instructions, right? Then after that, computer is actually composed of hardware and software. So hardware, you already know that. What is the hardware? The physical part of the computer. Various devices comprises the computer. Hardware, right? It contains a keyboard, screen, mouse, disk, memory, etc. Right? All this physical part of the computer is called as hardware. Then you have software, right? This is a collection of computer programs, procedures, and documentation that perform some tasks on the computer system, and the programs that run on the computer. Okay? You have the software, and to use this hardware, right? You have some instructions like you click mouse, right? Click through the mouse. So there might be some instruction working in the background. So what will happen when you click? What will happen when you do other tasks on the computer? So all the software is working behind the scene, right? Then you have already some knowledge, because this is a little introduction, because you might have studied computer fundamentals in your previous semester. So this is a little overview that the computer is organized in different units. Of course, we have to give it input, so it might have some input unit which obtains information, data, and computer programs from input devices. Then you have output. The processed data will be shown through the output unit. Output information to the output devices like screen, printers, and to control other devices. Then you have memory unit, which allows rapid access. It has low capacity. It stores input information. Then you have to do some calculations. For that, calculations, arithmetic and logical operations to perform these calculations. You have arithmetic and logic unit. And then you have a central processing units, right? This is the main unit which supervises and coordinates the other sections of the computer. Then you have a secondary storage unit for the long time storage of data. You can store your files on the secondary storage, and then you can again retrieve, modify, and then save into this secondary storage units. So these are the points you already know, right? So why we are studying here programming language? So my question is, why language is so important? I'm just talking about a general language. So any one of you can tell me why language is so important to us. What is the purpose of having some language?
Ma'am, it is a mode of communication.
Yes, anyone other than Zakirullah?
Ma'am, we can share our ideas with each other by
We can
languages.
share our ideas with each other. So, okay, language is important because we want communication with each other. We have to make the other person understand what we want to tell other person, right? So, let's suppose if I talk in maybe Urdu, right? If I speak Urdu and the other person knows Arabic, right? If I communicate in Urdu language, he might not understand. So it's very important that the other person should know your language. So for this, you can communicate your message to the other person. So both the person should know the same language. What human language? This is different language. Like this is natural language, but what we talk, this is natural to us. But the computer is not a human, it's a machine, right? So the language that a computer understands is the machine language, and this comprises only ones and zeros. It means that computers only understands ones and zeros and not what we talk. it cannot directly understand what we are talking, right? So in order to make the computer understand what we want this machine to do, or what are our instructions, we must have some machine language. So can we, is it easy for us to learn machine language? Is it easy? If I have one instruction and I learn ones and zeros for that, is it easy for us as a programmer? Anyone, please? You are, all of you are sleeping, I think.
Not easy like a natural language, ma'am.
What is your opinion, Muhammad Izhar? Muhammad Izhar. Yes, Muhammad Izhar. Is it easy for us to learn ones and zeros for each and every instruction? There are thousands, there might be thousands of instructions. Can we learn that?
Oh, ma'am, it's not easy. Not easy.
Okay, right. So initially, all the computers were programmed using machine language. It was very difficult and cumbersome. Only small programs can be written. Okay, for a very simple task, you have to write a large amount of lines of code, right? So line of code was increased at that case. In this case, right, it was very difficult as a human to learn these ones and zeros for each and every instruction. Moreover, it was also difficult if we get an error. If we get an error in our program and we want to diagnose that, this was even more difficult to diagnose where we get where we have done some mistake. Third one is that as it requires a lot of lines of codes, right? Then it was very slow in the development process, right? So there were many disadvantages at the programmer level, but this machine language, which is directly understandable by the computer, it was really fast to run. So efficient at the machine level, but not efficient at the programmer level. They were difficult for the programmers to make the programs at the development side. It was really difficult to make the programs faster. The development was slow, but at the machine level, it was really fast to run these programs, right? So there are different categories of programming language, starting from the low and going towards the high level of programming. So if I talk about low level programming, the lowest level of machine codes, right? So the lowest level is the machine language, right? The language that the computer directly understands, the language which is really fast to run, right? So the lowest level is very near to the machine. In the understanding level of that language by the machine is very near, right? So but it's very far from the understanding level of the programmer. So it is directly processable, written. It's written in binary, as I've told. It's just strings of ones and zeros. It was hard to read for the programmers, slow to create, but it's really fast to run. So this is the lowest level where we have the machine language, which is machine efficient, right? And then the next lowest level, the little level higher than the lowest level, is the where we have language which is called as assembly language, right? Assembly language comprises some mnemonics, right? Mnemonics are some abbreviations for doing some instructions, for doing some tasks, right? So it directly represents machine code. So it's symbolical. We have some symbolical representation, like it just eliminate ones and zeros instructions. Instead, they use mnemonics like it's a little natural to us, uh, 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 which is more understandable to us. We can learn that, and its read is a little easier than the machine language. So it comprises symbols like move A, right, increment A, uh, J and Z loop. This is a sample from the assembly language, right? This is more readable, human readable, but it's still slow to create because for a simple task, you have to still write a large amount of instructions for that, lines of code. But it's still fast to run, and this assembly language is the processor specific. You have to know the architecture of your processor, right? It's processor specific. So it's a little bit good as compared to the machine language at the programmer level. Then when we go level up, we have a high level languages, programming languages, in which we have Pascal, C, Fortran, C++, Java. Here, one statement is equivalent to of many machine code operations. So if you are going to write a statement, and then if you look in at the back end, that statement would be converted into a many machine code. So this statement tells us that if one statement in high level is equivalent to many machine codes, it means that indirectly this statement is telling us that now the line of code has been reduced. Now it's really easier for us to develop the programs. Now the development will be the faster, right? And as you know, that it is high level programming languages. Now it's going far from the machine level and it's moving toward the programmer level. It's more programmer efficient language. The programmer have a very feel very easy to make the programs in this level, but it is going far from the machine. So it's programmer efficient. A low level language is machine efficient, and high level languages are programmer efficient, right? But it's fast to write, but it might be slower as compared to the in terms of when you run the program. It might pass through different stages because ultimately you have to convert the high level languages to the language that the computer understands. For example, if I tell you that I speak Urdu and the other person speak Arabic, so I cannot directly communicate with that person. There will be some intermediate stage between me and the other person, so that my language may be translated into Arabic, so the other person may understand my language. So this high level language will be converted. There will be some intermediate stages in between high level and to convert this language to back to the machine language. So it's going through different stages, and ultimately this high level language must have to convert into the machine language, as we want to give instructions to the machine and it have to obey our instruction. So it must be converted into ultimately the ones and zeros, right? So any one of you, I must call someone. Ihsan Danish. Ihsan Danish. I have a question that low-level languages are machine efficient or programmer efficient? Low-level languages are machine efficient or programmer efficient? Efficient in terms of machine or programmer. Ihsan Danish, are you there? Are you just sleeping? It looks you are sleeping, I think. Ihsan. So Ihsan is not there. So I will select someone else. The question is easy. I'm not asking very difficult question. It's from what I'm talking, right? So Shazib Hussain. Shahzeb, Hussain. Yes. Low-level languages are programmer efficient or machine efficient?
I think it's machine efficient.
जी आवाज नहीं आई आपकी, आप दोबारा रिपीट करें. Programmer or machine efficient?
Ma'am, it's machine efficient.
Okay. ठीक है शाहजेब जी. वासिफ अहमद, would you like to answer this?
Ma'am, machine efficient.
Yes, ठीक है शाहजेब. वासिफ Ahmed is not there, I think. Okay. Ehsan Danish has raised his hand. Acha. Okay. Ali Sher, would you like to tell us something?
No, sir, ma'am.
Okay, we just talk about low-level languages and the high-level programming languages. Now we are specifically talking about C++ programming language. Here, C++ is a high-level programming language developed by Vijay Stroustrup starting in 1979 at Bell Labs. So C++, advantage of that, it runs on a variety of platforms like it can be run on Windows, Mac, and other versions of Unix. It is an extension to C programming. It has the major feature that the extended feature of C++ is that it have object-oriented programming. It's also considered as one of the fastest language. It's very close to the low-level languages, thus allowing complete control over memory allocation and management. So it's though it's a high-level programming language, it's also have a complete control over memory allocation and management. And the low-level languages actually deal directly to have a direct control over the memory, right? So you have to know the architecture of your computer, right? In the low level programming languages. Here you can also do some tasks related to memory allocation and management. So what is the difference between procedural and the object-oriented programming? So in C++, procedure programming language is an important language whose programs have the ability to be structured in terms of, the important word is structured in terms of reusable procedures. So, and here the reusable procedure can be called as functions, right? So this is procedural programming is actually structured in terms of reusable procedure. Here, most of the part we will cover from the procedure because this is the basic and this is the beginning level of the programming. To start with the procedural programming. And then a level up high, we have the object-oriented programming, where we create the classes and we have the objects of that. We have the data in forms of fields known as attributes. And then we have the procedures, which are known as methods. This is a part of actually the object-oriented programming. And in computer system, we have a separate course of that, name as OOP, object-oriented programming. I don't know in electrical it's there or not, but here in this course, we have only the basic level of procedural programming. It's an example of high-level languages. This is a sample from the C++ program. Here you have this code, and this is actually called the source code. This is more natural to us. Here we want to print hello world. So this is a source code, and the corresponding executable code will be in the form of ones and zeros. So the intermediate level that I was talking about to convert the high level languages to the machine machine level language. That intermediate program, which converts, which do these conversions, are called compilers, right? So compilers actually translate a high-level program into executable. Compilers and linkers convert into executable machine code. When you are going to start your C++ program, it's must that you know the basic of the typical C++ environment. So for writing a C++ program, there are different phases. Like, well, first it start from the editing your C++ program. For editing the C++ program, you need an editor. So first stage is to edit, and then for that we have the editor in which we type our programs and write our programs. And then we can even store those programs on the disk. In the second phase, we have to pre-process our program. For that, we need preprocessor. So preprocessor process the code, and then it can be saved on the disk, right? Then third phase is the compile time. Compile, which is for that we need a compiler, and then the result of the compiler is that it converts the high-level language into the low-level language, and it creates an object code. That object code can be stored on the disk, right? And then for the other phase includes link, that requires linker. Linker links the object code with the libraries, creates a .out and store it on the disk. Then you have a loader. It loads program in the memory. Then it's time to execute it. For that, it's CPU, which takes each instruction, execute it. And during the execution, you might have some values which may be changed during, right? Maybe you have some variable and its value is incrementing in each iteration. So new values might also store in the memory. So there are different phases: edit, preprocesses, compile, link, load, and execute. And this is the same steps of compilation of C++ program. In this, that you have, after compiler, you have object code, and then the linkers link all other library files and header files. Then linker creates exe file.exe, right? And this will be executable file, right? And this will be ultimately run. So C++ program, in order to write C++ program, for example, I give you some problem to solve. For that, you might not go directly to the editor and just writing the C++ in specific instructions. It might be a very complex problem that will need some planning, right? So for that, like you take page and pen and write some instruction as a plan, that you have to do this task first. Then you will do this instruction, and then you will do the other instruction, and then you will combine all the previous instruction maybe. So you have to write all these instructions in a sequence way so that it will solve a problem for you, right? But the pseudocode is such type of informal language. This is artificial informal language used to develop algorithm. It is similar to everyday language. It has no rules, right? You just write some steps with you that okay, if I have to solve this problem, this would be this step. First, let's suppose first step, if I want to add two variables and store the result of that in the other variable, right? Then what you have to do is you just write the instructions in a very informal language, like step 1, read value for A. Step 2, read value for B. Step 3, add value A and B. Step 4, store the result of the summation to the other variable C, right? So you have to write all the, so this is a type of algorithm, right? You have to write your algorithm in an informal language. So you just have to write the instruction, right? Like you have everyday English. There are no grammar rules for writing a pseudocode, just steps. These are the steps for yourself, not for the computers to get executed. So it's used to think out a program before coding, right? It's just like a planning. You have to write some instructions before coding. Easy to convert into. So it's very easy to convert into C++ program. Once you write your instructions in sequence wise, then it would be easy for you. Okay, if I want to read an value A, the corresponding C++ program is like this. So this pseudocode only contains executable statements. Like there is no need to declare variables. Like in C++ program, if you are using some variables, you need to declare those variables first, and then you have to use that. But in pseudocode, you don't have to declare any variables. You just have to write what is the main task. That I have a variable A, I take a value for that, right? So there is no rule for pseudocode. Just you have to write the executable statements in informal language. Okay, are you there? Right. So algorithm. This is a sequence of precise instructions which leads to a solution. So for problem solving, you must have an algorithm to solve that problem. So the sequence, it must be in a sequence form, not the random sequence connected together to form an algorithm. It must be the sequence, the instructions must be connected in a sequence manner so that it may solve the problem for you, not create problem for you, right? So algorithm, it's a complete sequence of precise instruction. It might be in the graphical form, it might be in the, some instructions form. So in the graphical forms, you might have seen the flow chart starting from the begin and ending at the end, right? You have some instructions in between that. You have a complete connected flow lines connecting different processes between the algorithm. So you have to follow that sequence, right? So following the sequence is very important to solve the problem. Then you have a program. The program is actually the implementation of the algorithm. An algorithm is expressed in a language the computer can understand. So the program is actually something the algorithm is converted into the computer language, right? So that the computer can understand what you want to instruct that machine, right, to do some task, to solve the problem for you. First, okay, you cannot ignore human resource. Okay, machine is there. We have some purpose of having the computer. Why? Because when if you omit this machine from your life, right? So what was before? Humans were doing calculations, a lot of calculations there. So if a human is doing a lot of calculations, it is a very slow process, and it might take days to solve a simple calculations, maybe, because it's a lengthy process, right? We have a purpose of having this machine. We want that this machine must do calculations very fast, in fractions of seconds. It will solve problem for you, do a large amount, billions of instructions, simulate the billion of instructions for you. So a program, what I was talking is that you cannot ignore human resource. You have to design the algorithm. You are the one that have to design the algorithm and to convert that algorithm into the actual implementation in the form of program, in the form of the language the computer understands. So the computer is actually following what the instructions you are giving to it. It cannot make algorithm by its own. You have to give this machine instruction in the form of a computer language, right, instructions. So designing a program is a creative process, right? Programming is a creative process. If you have a complex project, you might have different modules. You have to think for each module. It involves a creative process, how you are going to program it efficiently, how you will connect different modules together to form a complex project, right? So it's not a simple, okay, simple for simple programs, but for the large scale programs, maybe it is a very creative process. So this design process involves problem solving phase, and the implementation phase requires algorithm to be translated into programming language. You have to think about how your program problem will be solved. You have to design the algorithm for that. So it involves your thinking process as well. So here in the problem solving phase, the result of problem solving phase is that you come up with an algorithm, right? And then in the implementation phase, this algorithm will ultimately result in a programming language that the computer understands, right? Now come towards the actual structure of C++ program. So any one of you can tell me what a pseudocode is? Pseudocode क्या होता है? What is a pseudocode? Ataur Rahman. Ataur Rahman. What is pseudocode? So there is marks for online participation, and you have to do active participation in that. So you are inactive, right? Maybe just clicked and then you are sleeping. So who's there to answer my question? What is a pseudocode?
मैं मैम
G Avais. What is the pseudocode?
सर ये मैम ये हमारे पास एक इनफॉर्मल लैंग्वेज होती है जिसमें हम प्रोग्राम लिखते हैं
जी, हम अपने प्रोग्राम्स, अपने इंस्ट्रक्शन जो है इनफॉर्मल लैंग्वेज में जो है वो डिस्क्राइब कर लेते हैं इन द फॉर्म ऑफ स्टेप्स, राइट? थैंक यू अवैस. Okay, now we have a basic structure of C++ program. In the C++ program, you can see that this is our basic structure for the C++ program. It comprises preprocessor directives. The first line that you see in the C++ program is called a preprocessor directives. It starts with the hash sign. The lines that start with hash, that are called preprocessor directives. Then we have second thing is the main function. Main function starts with the main function must have its name with main. So each and every C++ program must have this main function, right? Main function, and then the function body starts with these brackets, right? This is the opening bracket and this is the close bracket, and within these brackets we can write all our statements that we want the computer to do. So these are the C++ statements. These are the statements that will be followed by the computer, right? So I will tell you detail of each and everything, but just look at this, that this is the basic structure of C++ comprising preprocessor directive. We have the main function, and we have some C++ statements. This is a very simple, the basic program to begin learning any programming language, right? If we execute this, the output we get will be the hello world. So the basic purpose of this C++ program is to print hello world. And if you are going to learn any programming language, in all the books of programming language at the beginning level, they start with a very simple example, and that example is that they start with how to print some text on the screen. They start with this thing, and all those programs, they have the same thing, like hello world, printing hello world on the screen. So here too we have hello world, how we will print this hello world to the screen. So here you can see that the first line that I told you, it includes standard input and output library of procedure. It starts with hash sign. This is called preprocessor directive. So if the main task is to print something text on the screen, it means it involves some input and output, right? Here it's only the output. It's not taking any input. It just using output functionality. So what I want is that I just want to care about what I want to print. Here I just want to care about that I want to print hello world, but I don't want to care about how this is going to be printed on the screen. What are the functionality behind that to take this string and putting it on the screen? So actually all the most of the programs have some inputs that includes some outputs to show. So it's very common thing, right? So this functionality has been included in one of the standard libraries, and the part of that standard library is the input output library, which is the IOStream library. So the functionality where how this input and output will be done, the functionality is there in these libraries. So just we have to include that libraries in our program. So how we will going to include this is through the preprocessor directives. We write hash include. It means we are going to include something in our source code. So here we are going to include IOStream library within our source code, so that all the functionality connected to the input and output would be done automatically, and we don't have to care about that. So whatever program you write, just include IOStream, so that whatever you do, inputs and outputs, it will be handled by this library itself. And you have to just care about what you want to take the input and what you want to give output to the screen. And all the behind functionality will be there in this corresponding library. And why it's called preprocessor directives? It is actually pre-processed before actual compilation of this source code. So when compilers see this hash sign, it invokes some part of the program, and then the source code of this library functionality will be included in this source, and then it will be compiled as a complete program. So when we edit the program, the second one was the preprocessor. So it is used by the preprocessor to pre-process this before actual compilation. So this is, you have to remember this. Then whenever you are going to write the C++ program, you have to write this statement, hash include IOStream, right? Input output stream. Then second thing is that every C++ program must have a main function. There might be different functions, but one function must be there with the name specifically main, because the main function is the entry point for C++ program. Okay, this is the main function, and from the main function you might call some other functions, right? But there the entry point is the main function. It must be there. So every program must have main function. Like here is syntax. Syntax is something, the rules of a programming language, right? What are the grammar rules for writing instructions in a specific programming language? So here we have the main function, and then we have these small brackets for the functions, right? Then before main, we have something like int. Int is specifically for integer value. Integer. It means that main function is going to return integer value to you, right? This is a function, but at the end this function is going to return you integer value. So this statement tells us this thing. This is the main entry point. Every program must have a main function, and this is the syntax that after main we have these round brackets, and before main we must have this int, integer, because it's going to return us some integer value. And here we have written that return 0 at the end of the statements, close to the this close brackets. It's just before that we are going to return 0, because this main function will return 0, and it's also showing that it will be returning some integer value. This is the entry point, and this return statement will be the exit point from out of this function. Okay, and you can see that these curly brackets, this is actually beginning, and this is the end of a block of instructions. I told you that this is the function body, and in most of the programming languages you might have seen something like a block starting with the begin and then you have end. So it's not a begin and end, but it's just for the begin we have its corresponding opening bracket. For the end we have its close bracket, right? So within these we have these instructions that we want the computer to follow. So instruction function call to output hello world. This is a specific instruction in which we are going to tell the computer to print hello world for us. So we have included the IO stream, and this IO stream is from the standard library. So we have written here std double full colon, then we have cout, as we want to print, and printing is something related to the output devices. We are using the output stream object here, right? This is a cout related to the output stream object, and then we have insertion operator, so that the string after the insertion operator will be appended with that and will be printed to the screen. So whatever you want to print on the screen must be included in this double quotes. So whatever it's just written hello world, you can print anything, your name, my name is, right? This जो भी आपका नाम है आप वो प्रिंट कर सकते हैं, ठीक है? तो कोई भी टेक्स्ट आपने अगर प्रिंट करना है, ये रूल है, this is the rule, this is the syntax that you have to enclose that within these double quotes. And then at the end, this statement must be ended with this semicolon, must end with this semicolon. If you don't write this semicolon at the end of the statement, you might get error, and that error is called syntax error, because you didn't follow the grammar rules of a language. So this is a syntax error, and this program, when you compile that, you will get errors showing that you have some syntax errors, you forget to write semicolon, right? So this is further explanation of each and everything that I've already explained, that what is standard output stream object, cout, because it's connected to the screen. Then insertion, stream insertion operator. So whatever is their value to the right will be inserted into the output stream. Then you have namespace, std, right? So here in these instruction, we have just write std double full colons, and then we use it. Uh, Otherwise, we have the other option as well. std double full colons removed can be removed through the use of using statement, right? Using statement. It means that uh, std double colon, if you delete this std double full colons, right, and then you compile it, you will get an error, right? But if you use here a statement like using, if you write here using namespace std, so either you write this statement over here before main function. The statement is that using namespace std, which is written here, using namespace std. If you write this statement before main function, then you don't need to write this again here, std double full colon. You can remove this part if you write the statement before main, the using namespace std. But if you don't write this statement before main function, then you have to specify here std double full colons, right? Because you have to specify that it is from the standard library using namespace standard, right? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I have explained you a lot about preprocessor directives and library. Otherwise, our teachers also told us just remember that you have to write this hash include iostream and int main, and you have to just memorize this and just concentrate on this. They didn't at that time, just a little overview, right? That this is the preprocessor directive related to iostream, right? Input output. But I've explained you in detail what is the preprocessor and how it's going to work, right? But do not take care of much tension of these lines. You have to remember that each program will start from hash include iostream. Then you have the int main function, and the body of that is will be represented as this opening and closing brackets. And within this, you have some C++ statements, and there is some syntax for writing the statement. It must end with the semicolon. So if you are printing something, you must have to use cout with the insertion operator, and the whatever you want to print must be enclosed in the double quotes. Now you have the escape characters. So escape characters that starts from backslash sign, right? It indicates special character output. The details are shown in this table. There are different types of escape sequences. So indicates that a special character to be output. So first special sequence that we have is \n. What does it tell us? \n tells us that go to the new line, right? We want to we want to print something. When we are printing something, let's suppose I write hello world, then I want to go to the next line and to print something else, right? What I have to do is I have to include \n, and then I will include the other text, right? This is my world. Let's suppose I want to print this on the new line, right? So \n is used to go to the new line. Then you have \t. It is used to create a horizontal tab. Then you have \r, carriage return, position the screen cursor to the beginning of the current line, right? Then you have \a to produce a sound of the sound system bell. Then you have double backslashes. Backslash used to print a \character. Now there are something like if you want to, what if you want to print a backslash, right? So for the backslash, you cannot directly write a backslash in the double quotes so that it get printed on the screen. You have to write backslash before a backslash so that it get printed on the screen, right? Then the last, which is shown in this table, is the double quotes. So if you want to print the double quote within your text, what you have to do, let's suppose you want to print double quote in between hello world. What you will do? Let's suppose I want to it is printed like hello, then you have double quote, right? Then world. What will happen if I want to print this thing on the screen? How I will write the statement? Any idea? If you don't know about the backslashes, how you are going to print a double quote within the text? I've told you that whatever you want to print on the screen, it must be enclosed in the double quote. Let's suppose I want to print the text hello world. The hello world must be enclosed in the double quote, right? But what if I want a double quote to be printed within, in between hello world? What I have to do? Of course, if I don't know anything, what I will do? According to the rules that I know, what will I do? What I will do? Anyone?
मैम हम सिंपली ध्यान में लिख लेंगे.
रिपीट करें.
अच्छा जी, कौन आंसर करना चाहता है?
मैम आप क्वेश्चन क्या है?
रेज योर हैंड. रेज कर सकते हैं ना, तो मुझे पता चल जाएगा कि साजिद अहमद है, वो आंसर करना चाह रहे हैं, अवैस आंसर करना चाह रहे हैं, शाहजेब हसन आंसर करना चाह रहे हैं, इलियास है. अच्छा साजिद अहमद, आप मुझे बताएं कि कैसे आपके ख्याल में, अगर आपके ख्याल में अगर आप जो है डबल कोट्स इस प्रोग्राम में अगर आप देखें कि अगर आप डबल कोट प्रिंट करना चाहते हैं तो आप क्या करेंगे? और हमें यह रूल पता है कि जो भी आप प्रिंट करना चाहते हैं दैट मस्ट बी enclosed within the double quotes. Likewise, I want to print hello world, so this text is enclosed in the double quote. So
डबल स्लैश.
yes,
डबल स्लैश इस्तेमाल करेंगे.
क्या करेंगे?
डबल स्लैश.
डबल स्लैश?
जी मैम.
डबल स्लैश तो नहीं ना, हमें तो डबल कोट जो है वो इन बिटवीन हेलो वर्ल्ड प्रिंट करना है ना, हम तो यहाँ पे डबल कोट नहीं लिखेंगे.
तो इसका पता नहीं है सॉरी. मैंने कहा कि अगर साइड पर प्रिंट करना चाहते हैं तो उसके लिए
अच्छा चले, सही है. कोई और बताना चाहता है?
अगर साइड पर करते हैं तो
मैम
जी अवैस, आप बताना चाहते हैं?
सर हम जो भी कोड करना चाहते हैं वही लिखेंगे, दो कोड्स के दरमियान लिखेंगे.
हाँ,
और जो इसको निकाला है वो अपनी जगह पर रहेगा मैम.
मतलब if I want to, let's suppose by rule I know that I have to enclose in the double quote, तो मुझे क्या करना होगा? यहाँ पर डबल कोट, मतलब अब बाय रूल मैं क्या कर दूंगी यहाँ at this point I will include.
ये जो सेवट मैम लिखते हैं इसके अंदर डबल कोड के अंदर जो भी हम लिखेंगे, अगर हम डायरेक्ट इसके अंदर डबल कोड डाल दें फिर भी तो हो सकता है.
अगर हम इसमें डायरेक्ट डबल कोट डाल दें तो फिर तो हमारे पास एक और रूल बन जाता है. मसला हो गया ना. देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम हियर. it become a problem, right? This is correct. Hello world enclosed in double quote. But if we want to print double quote, it's creating a problem that it's considering hello to be printed on the screen. Is it like that? It looks like that, right? And this statement, this look disconnected, and it might you might get some error, right? I think it's clear.
यस, अगर हम मतलब इस मैसेज के अंदर जो भी डाल दे तो वो तो प्रिंट हो सकता है ना, मतलब हेलो वर्ड के
जी
दरमियान अगर हम 2 डबल कोट डाल दे तो हो जाएगा। मैंने कहा
जी
अगर
जी
कोई और इस तरह का डायरेक्ट रूल हो जिसके ज़रिए हम डालना चाहें, उसका तो पता नहीं।
हाँ मतलब
वैसे तो
अब
अगर प्रिंट एफ के या सी आउट के अंदर जो भी हम लिखे वो तो प्रिंट हो सकता है।
अच्छा, इसमें अगर हम डबल कोड इंक्लूड कर दें कि अब इसको प्रिंट कर दो, तो इसको ये डायरेक्टली जो है वो प्रिंट नहीं कर सकता, क्योंकि ये इसको एज अ टेक्स्ट कंसिडर कर, हेलो को एज अ टेक्स्ट कंसिडर कर रहा है, और ये आपको एरर देगा यहाँ पर दैट इट मस्ट बी ended with a semicolon, and then this world looks like disconnected. It must be some statement, right? So in order to include double quotes within your text, right? If you want to include double quotes within your text, then you have to use this backslash sign before this double quote so that it get printed on the screen. So if you want to include double quote within this text hello world, just write backslash and this double quote. When you compile it, there will be no error and it will get printed on the screen, right?
यस सर, मैं इसी के बारे में कह रहा था।
Okay, okay. Your name? Awais?
जी मैम।
Okay. जो आंसर कर रहा था वो कौन था? अवैस ही था?
मोहम्मद।
ओके, अच्छा ठीक है। देन वी हैव टेस्टिंग एंड डिबगिंग, राइट? सो you are writing a program, and it is the possibility that you do a mistake in a program. So a mistake in the program is simply called a bug, right? Bug. And then you are when you are going to eliminate the mistake in the program, this is called a debugging, right? Bug is a mistake, and to eliminate that bug from your program, this is called eliminating mistakes in the program. So how this bug word come from? That was actually this term used when a actual moth caused a failed relay on the Harvard Mark I computer, and the programmers tapped the moth in the logbook, stating that the first actual cause of a bug being found, right? So this term actually come from that from this occasion, right? Then from that time, the mistake in the program is called as bug, right? The other thing is that, of course, you are going to write a program, you get errors. So what are the different types of errors you might get when you write a program, right? When you compile it, when you run it, right? So the first type of error that you get in your program is the syntax error, right? Syntax errors are those if you are going to violate the grammar rules of the language, right? If you are violating the grammar rules of the language, it means you are going to do some mistake, or you are going to violate what is in the grammar rules of the language. Like I told you that each statement must end with semicolon, right? If you are not going to append semicolon and at the end of the statement, it means that you are violating the grammar rules of the language. So if you are going to violate the grammar rules of the language, that errors are called syntax error. And these syntax errors are discovered by the compiler. Error messages may not always show correct location of the error. So when you compile a program, it might give you the error. Okay, this is the error, but it's not necessary that it will tell you the exact location where this error occurs, right? So it might not tell you that at the line number, let's suppose 5, you did some syntax error. You might not append uh, semicolon. So it's not necessary that every time it give you exact location of the error. So if you are violating the rules, these are included in the syntax error. So if you have a syntax error, your program will not be compiled even, right? You will get error. Then you have runtime errors. If your program is correct in terms of syntax, it will get compiled, right? It will compile, no problem, right? Your program is perfect. But you can still get runtime errors. When you run the program, there is difference between compiling and running the program. First, you compile it. In the compilation process, the high-level language convert into the machine level language, right? And then you have a linking process in which you get the executable file. Then it get run, right? So you can have the errors at the runtime. What type of runtime errors? It means that when you are executing your program, you have let's suppose I told you that you have an instruction like C equals to A divided by B, and during the execution you ask the user to input some values for A and B. The instruction is C equals to A divided by B. Now here we are going to take the values for A and B. Let's suppose the user enter value 3 for A, but for the value of B, it enters 0. So what will happen? 3 by 0, you know that this come up with an undefined value, right? So undefined value, it will give you error, and these types of errors are called the runtime errors, right? So error conditions detected by the computer at the runtime. So these are type of errors can be, these are the exceptions, right, that can be handled. You can, if you want that your system won't get crashed, right? So you might can handle these types of errors. Let's suppose if you already know that the user can enter the value of 0 for B, then you might can handle this, like if you include some condition that if the value is equal to 0, then you might give an output error message that the value must be greater than 0. So you can handle these types of errors, but if you are not handling, then you can get runtime errors in this case, right? Okay, if your program is correct in terms of syntax, and it's perfect, it didn't have any runtime errors, but and you are getting the outputs as well, like you have the program, it is really perfect. It's not giving us any syntax error, it's not giving us runtime errors, and it is giving us the ultimate output. But if you look at the output, let's suppose you take an example from the book and you write a program for that, and you already know that the book says that the results should be equal to 100. And when you write a program and you run it, you get an output which is equal to 50. Now you know that the answer is incorrect. The answer must be 100. So there is a possibility that you have some problem in your program's algorithm. So you have not written the algorithm. There is some logical error in your program. And these type of logical error are the most difficult to diagnose. Computer does not recognize these type of errors. Computer can only recognize syntax error. It can also recognize runtime errors. It cannot identify your logical errors, because in terms of computer, it's only the instruction that it have to execute. But if it's some error in your logic, if your algorithm is not correct, if the sequence of instruction is not in the form that it produce a good result, the proper result, it means that the sequence that you provide is creating some logical mistakes, right? So the solution is that you have to look into your code, and you have to look into each and every instructions, what are the outputs of these instructions, and how they are going to produce the effective outputs, right? So the logical errors, you are the person that is going to remove these logical errors. And sometimes you might not be able to even detect that your program has some like logical errors. So this is the end of the slides, lecture slide. So if you have any question regarding this lecture, we will do some practical programs right now, right? This is not the end of lecture, but this is the end of slides. So is it clear to you all what I've explained? I've explained you low level language, machine level language to the higher level languages, right? Then I've shown you the most important structure of the C++ programming. So is it clear to you? So
Yes,
Ilyas and Awais are the most active.
मैम ये चीज़ ऐसे पहले कभी नहीं पढ़ी तो इसलिए ज़्यादा समझ भी नहीं आई, लेकिन थोड़ी थोड़ी आ गई है.
ठीक है, मतलब this is the start. So but there are certain things that you have to remember, that in C++ program you have to write the statement like hash include, and then you have a main function, right? And the thing that's going to vary is that the statements you write for a specific problem, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Nimra is I think telling me again and again कि मैडम आवाज कट जाती है दरमियान में से. आवाज क्लियर नहीं है, स्लो आ रही है, और बाकी को आवाज सही आ रही है.
yes, ma'am.
तो फिर मतलब प्रॉब्लम तो उनकी साइड पे है ना, यहाँ पे तो नहीं है प्रॉब्लम.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's start actual implementation so that you can understand. So this is code blocks. I've given you the link of that, right? And here, when you launch it, this window will appear. Here you have the menu bar, and then you have some icons. So if you want to create a new file, just go to the file, new, and then you can go to the empty file from here, right? Secondly, you have the option that you have icon here, new file. Click it, then you have an empty file here. So this is actually the editor. The first phase of your C++ program is that you have to edit your program on the editor. So this is named as untitled one, and here you have to write your program. So how I have to write my program? I have to first write the preprocessor directives. Hash include IOStream.
ये आप कौन सी यूज कर रही है मैम?
कोड ब्लॉक्स है, ये आपको लिंक दिया गया है, ठीक है, स्लाइड में. print main, हमने main function लिखना है. Then you have these curly brackets, and within these brackets we have a function body where you have to write the statements. Now I want to print something, so I will use cout insertion. Then whatever I want to print must be included in double quotes. So I want to print this hello world, right? And then return. Each statement must be enclosed. Each statement must be end with semicolon. Now I have written this very simple code, and then second step I have to do is to save this file. File save as, right? So this is test section कौन सा है आपका?
C.
E है ना? Okay.
C.
Okay, this is the function name. This is the file name. Test C. It must be ended with .cpp. CPP is the extension for the C++ program. So this is test C.cpp, and then you have to save this. Okay, when at the instant you save it, look at this. When you save it with .cpp, now the color of the text has been changed. Okay, that's something very colorful, right? Now the program has been saved in the CPP file, and it shows us that this is something related to the C++ programming language. Now after saving that, the step is that here is the icon, which is called as build. Now you have to click this icon, you have to build this. So let me open existing. I don't know why it's not being loading.
Ma'am, you will click build and play. The third one in the same row.
No, it's not showing me that 0
The
errors.
third icon, ma'am, the third icon from the build icon, you will place. You will click that and.
Yes, first you have to build and then you have to run it. And the third icon is build and run at the same time, right? But when I build it, it must show me that there is 0 errors. It didn't show me at the bottom. I've taken 3 classes and I compiled the same program, and it show at the bottom that you have 0 errors. It means you have no errors, no syntax error at this time. And then after build, we run this. When you run this, our purpose was to print this hello world. So it's been shown in the screen that hello world is printed on the screen, right? Now I have to close this, right? So there are many variations of this program, right? When I want to print world, I mean, you can change this hello world to some other text, hello sweet world, right? And if you save the file, and if you just directly run this file, when I just directly run the file, I made a change in the text. I write hello sweet world and I save it, and without compiling, I run the program. So what's this going? It's going to print hello world. So anyone who can tell me why hello world is printed? Why it didn't print hello sweet world?
मैम हमने बिल्ड नहीं किया ना इसलिए।
Fawad Khan, are you there? Fawad Khan?
Yes, madam.
C++ प्रोग्रामिंग की समझ आई है आपको?
जी मैडम।
हम क्या
C++
डेव++ या
प्रोग्राम की समझ आई है कि कैसे लिखते हैं?
मैडम इतनी खास नहीं है
क्यों, क्या समझ नहीं आई?
मैडम।
आपके पास जो मेन था वो तो बस एक ही प्रोग्राम है ना इस पूरे लेक्चर के अंदर, जस्ट अ सिंपल प्रोग्राम, सिर्फ ये स्टेटमेंट्स है आपके पास, जिसमें हमारे पास फर्स्ट लाइन में आपको कहा है कि एज इट इज आपने हर प्रोग्राम में लिखना होगा हैश इंक्लूड आईओस्ट्रीम, देन इंट मेन फंक्शन में लिखना होगा और ये ब्रैकेट्स लगानी होगी। ये तो आपने बस याद ही कर लेंगे। इनके क्या पर्पस है ये आप देख सकते हैं, मैंने आपको ऑलरेडी एक्सप्लेन किया हुआ। मेन जो भी आपने टास्क करना है, जो भी प्रॉब्लम है, उसके लिए आपको स्पेसिफिक स्टेटमेंट्स लिखनी होती है। जैसे कि हम चाहते हैं कि सिंपल सा प्रोग्राम के हम प्रिंट करना चाहते हैं कि हेलो वर्ल्ड प्रिंट हो जाए, तो प्रिंट करना चाहते हैं मींस आउटपुट करना चाहते हैं, तो हमें सी आउट का ऑब्जेक्ट लेना होगा। ये भी एक सिंटेक्स है कि एसटीडी लिखें, डबल फुल कॉलन लिखें, सी आउट क्योंकि आउटपुट करना चाहते हैं, देन यू हैव इंसर्शन ऑपरेटर एंड देन whatever you want to print on the screen must be enclosed in a double quotes, then you have a semicolon in the statement. So this is the case, right? So I think it's not too much difficult to understand, and this is just
मैडम तो कई दफा
lines.
हो रहा है इस वजह से।
जी
ठीक है मैडम, समझ गया हूँ।
ठीक है। अच्छा, मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि पहले मैंने प्रिंट किया था हेलो वर्ल्ड, देन आई कंपाइल इट, मींस आई बिल्ड इट एंड देन आई रन इट। at the output we had hello world. In the second program I modify my text, I write hello sweet world, I save it, I didn't compile it, and then I run it. The problem was that what I get the previous output again on the screen. So what happened in this case is that as I didn't compile this फाइल, मैंने इसको कंपाइल नहीं किया, जब मैंने मॉडिफाई किया, सेव तो किया फाइल को, लेकिन मैंने इसको बिल्ड नहीं किया। तो इसकी वजह से क्या हुआ कि इस नाम से जब आप बिल्ड करते हैं तो आपके पास टेस्ट सी डॉट ओ की ऑब्जेक्ट फाइल क्रिएट होती है। आफ्टर बिल्डिंग टेस्ट सी डॉट ओ की फाइल क्रिएट होती है, जो कि क्या होती है, ऑब्जेक्ट फाइल होती है, और फिर यही ऑब्जेक्ट फाइल जो है फर्दर यूज होती है। तो क्या हुआ है, जब मैंने मॉडिफिकेशन कर दी लेकिन मैंने इसको बिल्ड नहीं किया, तो मतलब इसकी नहीं नई न्यू ऑब्जेक्ट फाइल क्रिएट नहीं हुई, और जब आपने रन किया तो प्रीवियस वाली ऑब्जेक्ट फाइल इसने उठाई और इसको फिर फर्दर जो है वो रन किया गया है। ठीक है, तो इसीलिए हमें जो आउटपुट नजर आया है वो क्या हुआ है कि आउटपुट पे हमें पुराना वाला आउटपुट नजर आया है, लेकिन अभी मैं अगर इसको बिल्ड कर दूं तो इट मीन्स कि नया वाला ऑब्जेक्ट कोड क्रिएट होगा, फिर नई वाली एक्जी फाइल फिर हमारे पास क्रिएट होगी, जब हम रन करेंगे तो अब हमारे पास आउटपुट पे क्या आ गया है, हेलो स्वीट वर्ल्ड जो है वो नजर आ रहा है हमें। ठीक है, समझ आ गई है?
यस मैम।
यस
ठीक
मैम।
है।
Yes,
अच्छा,
ma'am.
अभी मैं आई वांट टू राइट मल्टीपल स्टेटमेंट्स, राइट, लाइक आई एम यूजिंग this std and this one, So I've written these lines. STD out hello. Then I have a space. Then in other statement I've written STD out sweet world. So in your opinion, what will be the output of that?
मैम ये हेलो पहली लाइन में होगा, ये स्वीट वर्ड दूसरी लाइन में, लाइन ब्रेकअप हो।
अच्छा, ये कौन है हमारे साथ? किसने आंसर किया? हमें नाम बताएं। इलियास।
यस सर।
इलियास। इसके अलावा, इलियास के अलावा और कौन हमें आंसर करेगा?
सर
प्लीज
ये
क्वेश्चन रिपीट कर।
दूसरी लाइन में आएगा, हेलो एक लाइन में आएगा और स्वीट वर्ल्ड दूसरी लाइन में आएगा।
मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि आई मेड सम चेंजेस इन माय कोड. STD out hello, then I have another statement STD out sweet world. So what will be the output of this? This was my question.
मैम हेलो एक लाइन में आएगा और स्वीट वर्ड दूसरी लाइन में आएगा, क्योंकि मैम वो ब्रेक हो गई थी ना हेलो के बाद में।
अच्छा, so anyone with some other answer? जी, कोई और आंसर करना चाहता है? क्योंकि इलियास, अवैस और शाजेब आई थिंक ये लोग ही ज्यादा एक्टिव हैं और बाकी अच्छा साजिद गुल भी
मैम यही होगा जो उसने बोला।
अच्छा, और शेर बहादुर हमें कोई आंसर करेंगे? जी, रेज किया हुआ ना हैंड। वासिफ।
हेलो मैम।
जी शेर बहादुर, आप इसका आउटपुट बताना चाहेंगे? इसका क्या आउटपुट होगा आपके ख्याल में? हेलो स्वीट वर्ल्ड। यहाँ पे हमारे पास ये स्टेटमेंट लिखी हुई है, STD out hello, then you have STD out sweet world. आउटपुट पे क्या होगा?
मैम ब्रेक आएगा उसमें ना। हेलो
हेलो एक लाइन में होगा और स्वीट वर्ड दूसरी लाइन में होगा।
Okay, let's build it, right? So all of you were telling me that hello will be in one line and the sweet world will be printed the next line. लेकिन क्या हुआ? यहाँ पर hello sweet world जो है वो एक ही लाइन में प्रिंट हुआ है। अब क्यों हुआ है ऐसा?
मैम अगर इसमें हम END वाला वो लगा दे, फंक्शन लगा दे, तो फिर इसमें ब्रेक हो जाएगा ना।
हाँ, लेकिन यहाँ पर हमारे पास क्या है? हेलो है, स्पेस है, ठीक है, देन यू हैव स्वीट वर्ड, राइट? तो इसमें कोई भी आप देखें कि /n नहीं है।
यस वो भी लगा सकते हैं आप।
स्वीट वर्ड,
जी
ठीक है। तो चाहे आप कितनी मल्टीपल स्टेटमेंट्स लिख लें, हेलो एक स्टेटमेंट में, स्वीट अलग स्टेटमेंट में, वर्ड अलग स्टेटमेंट में, लेकिन जो इनके अंदर सेपरेटर्स है, लाइक इसमें तो स्पेस है जब, तो वो हेलो प्रिंट होगा, देन यू हैव स्पेस, फिर स्वीट, देन स्पेस, देन वर्ड, राइट?
असल में मैम इस वजह से वो होता कि मतलब अगर STD के उसकी वजह से ब्रेक हो जाता है, तो
जी, मतलब
मैंने
हम
दूसरे प्लस
मतलब
थोड़ा सा
यही
इस्तेमाल
बात है ना
किया
कि
उसमें। तो
हम जितना प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, डिफरेंट ऑप्शंस चेक करते हैं, उतना हमें आइडिया होता जाता है। अब देखने में तो इसी तरह लगता है ना कि ये प्रिंट होगा। अभी यहाँ पे हम /n कर देते
वो
हैं।
इसमें यस सिलेक्शन कर देंगे तो फिर वो ब्रेक हो ऊपर वाले में
जी
या
जी,
इस।
अब हम बिल्ड कर देते हैं, रन कर देते हैं इसको। तो अब देखें आउटपुट हमारे पास क्या होगा। पहले हेलो प्रिंट हुआ, देन यू हैव /n की वजह से द कर्सर इज मूव टू द नेक्स्ट लाइन, एंड देन यू हैव द अदर टेक्स्ट लाइक स्वीट वर्ड।
और मैम ENDL वाला ऑप्शन भी तो लगा सकते हैं ना।
हाँ, वो भी आप कर सकते हैं, लेकिन अभी तो मैंने आपको सिर्फ एस्केप सीक्वेंस बताए ना।
मैम इसमें हर स्टेटमेंट के सामने ये एसटीडी लिखना पड़ेगा।
हाँ, मतलब मैंने आपको बताया कि या तो आपके पास ये ऑप्शन है कि आप ये STD लगा दें, फुल कॉलन, डबल कॉलन्स लगा दें, या आपके पास ये ऑप्शन है कि इसको रिमूव कर दें, ठीक है।
ऊपर
और यहाँ
यूजिंग
पर
नेम
यहाँ
स्पेस
नेम से पहले आप लगा दें यूजिंग नेम स्पेस
नेम स्पेस
STD।
एसटीडी। जी 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 ठीक
सही।
ठीक है ठीक ओके।
अच्छा अच्छा, अब ये लेट्स सपोज we are going to try one more example. Like I told you that return 0 is the exit point from this function, right? So if I cut this statement and just paste it over here, right? We are trying different versions and we are actually increasing our experience with the C++ program. If I do this, what will happen? If I do this change, what will happen? So it will increase your knowledge and your practice, right? So if I'm going to save this, right? And if I build it, I have no error, right? And in your opinion, what will be the output of this code? You have the hello, then you have return, and then you have another statement, sweet world. So look at this code, and in your opinion, what will be the output? So is it Muhammad? I don't know. Name is not complete here. So who is going to answer me? Kaisar Khan. Kaisar Khan, are you there? Kaisar Khan?
Yes, ma'am.
You are there. So can
Yes,
you
ma'am.
get what will be the output of this
Yes, ma'am.
function? It might be incorrect, but just participate so that I may know that you are here. So here
Ma'am,
here
क्या
are
बता?
these statements. So in your opinion, what will be the output? I made some modification in the code. I write return in between C++ statements. Return is the exit point of the function.
मैम कुछ पता नहीं चल रहा है मुझे।
वैसे इस प्रोग्राम का ये हम एक सिंपल सा प्रोग्राम किया था ना, और एक ही प्रोग्राम है जिसमें आप मुझे ये बता सकते हैं कि इसका मकसद क्या था? इस प्रोग्राम का मकसद क्या है? हम क्या करना चाहते हैं इस प्रोग्राम में? व्हाट इज द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ दिस प्रोग्राम?
मैम इसी का तो पता नहीं है।
ये तो आपको एटलीस्ट पता होना चाहिए कि हम ये प्रोग्राम जो लिख रहे हैं इसका क्या ऑब्जेक्टिव है। मतलब we are not doing some complex programming, we are starting with a very simple program, and it's there in every programming language book, and it starts with printing a simple statement like hello world. It starts with this. So all the programming languages start with this statement hello world, how to print a hello world text on the screen, right? So the purpose of this program is to print hello world. So with the passage, we just did a little bit modification in the hello world to see what will be the effect on the output, right? Like we have include some more text, hello sweet world. We included \n to see that it's going to insert a new line. Hello will be printed in the first line, and because of /n, you the other text sweet word will be printed in the next line. But here I did the third modification, like I have included return 0 in between these statements, and I'm asking from you that what will be effect, right? If anyone else want to answer other than Kaisar?
Ma'am, only hello will be printed.
I think सिर्फ hello ही print हो पाएगा.
Okay, Arusa and Zakirullah, have the answers that only hello will be printed. Let's see. I'm going to build it, then I'm going to run this, and I'm checking the output. Only hello is printing. So it confirmed my statement that I've told you, that return, if main is the entry point of the C++ program, then return is the exit point of that. So after the hello statement,
Yes.
I've written return, and because of that return, this function exited. And no, the other statements followed by the return are being printed to the screen, right? So I think it's clear. We can try other versions too. Maybe,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. \t, you can check, you can try it
Yes,
your own. But the first
use
thing is that you
for
have to,
space.
एक्सक्यूज मी मैम।
yes,
मैम मुझे ये रिटर्न जीरो का मतलब समझ नहीं आया, इसका क्या मकसद है, हमारे पास ये काम क्या करता है? आपने कहा था कि करली ब्रैकेट्स हमारे पास इनिशिएटिव और एंड के लिए यूज करते हैं, तो ये रिटर्न जीरो का क्या मकसद है मैम?
अच्छा, अब we have this main function, right? And the syntax of this main is that before the main we have int, written as int, and it shows that something written before main shows that it's going to return that thing to us, right? So here it's written that it's int. It means that this main function is going to return us some integer value, right? So at the end, this function must return us something that is integer. So we are just writing here that okay, there is nothing we are returning. We are just printing. There is no values that we are returning back. So we are just simply writing it return 0, right? So if you don't have anything to return, you just write return 0, right? And even if you don't write anything, by default, it will be doing it for you. Because this is the main function, it will return you at the end. I got no error and I have the output. Right? Okay. Any other question?
मैम अगर हम इस स्वीट वर्ड के लिए दूसरा सी आउट लिख ले तो फिर वो भी होता ना प्रिंट?
जी बिल्कुल, अगर आप चाहते हैं कि आप ये वर्ड जो है एक और सी आउट में लिख दें, लेट्स सपोज इसको आपको कंप्लीट करना होगा, यू हैव टू enclose it in double quotes, proceed it with semicolon, then
yes,
you have to write this
std cout.
Let's suppose I want to print world in the next line, then I have to further include this \n, right? I want to save this file, I will build it, I will run this. So hello sweet world, it's printed in 3 different lines. So this is simple example, simple program. But if you have the complex programs and I ask you to write the statements, instructions, I might not be even interested in whether you have write hash include iostream for me or not, because we know that you have to include this. All of you know that every program you might have hash include, but if you are doing these programs practically on this software, you must include hash include iostream, and then you have to write int main and these instructions according to the syntax of the C++ program. If you are not following that, it means you will be ultimately getting syntax error, and this program won't be even compiled at the end, right? But in the exam, if I told you to write programs, I will be more interested in your uh, these executable statements more, right? How you are going to write. All these things are common in every program, right? So my advice to you guys is that
Yeah,
first of all,
yeah, पूरे जो में 1 hour से
yes, one of you must mute your mic, right? So my advice is that you must just download this code block and start practicing, because in this week we are just have taken a very we have started with a very simple program, and if you do practice on that, then we can go forward and we can move forward with further programs. You know, we have to go level up level, right? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
I think I must stop recording.
Yes, ma'am.